The best of news in the worst of times. This is how I encapsulate this video that I'm about to show you, because the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art has been in the making for over a decade, and now it's going to be finally opening next September, 2026, and it's going to feature more than 40,000 works of narrative art, and of course many of it going to contain models and props and concept art from Lucas's filmmaking career, and of course most of them will be Star Wars related, and even, the museum itself looks like a Star Wars ship. It's beautiful and it's elegant and it has a botanical garden at the top, but at the end of the day, it is leaving a sour aftertaste knowing where Lucasfilm is right now, being led by Kathleen Kennedy, Disney overrunning everything, overthinking everything, and at the end of the day, everything George Lucas built, I can't help but feel that they, both Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger, are slowly but surely chipping away at it, ruining it. And this art museum is just a patch over a big, big wound. Take it from the creator himself. Take it from George Lucas. This is what he said recently at a Comic-Con.
I think it's more about a connection, an emotional connection with the work, not how much it cost or what celebrity did it or whatever. It's more a personal thing. And I don't think it's anything that anybody else can tell you. Other people's opinions don't mean much. The only thing that really means something is what you do and what you feel about it. And then if you see that other people react to it in a very emotional way, then you say, well, I did my job, that was good. But when people come who say they're experts and they say, oh, that's not art, that's not this, that's tough.
Now, this is literally a dig at what Kathleen Kennedy has said in a recent interview a couple of weeks ago. I mean, is it a surprise at this point where Star Wars is, the state of Star Wars? It is crumbling before our eyes, and Kathleen Kennedy continues to make statements like this. So let's start immediately with this article. I'm fuming. Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy teases more standalone stories in Star Wars, and she said, this is quote in the title, it doesn't necessarily have to connect to every little thing that's been done.
What?
She's telling you literally in front of your face, this is why I ruined Star Wars. This is why Disney Star Wars has been crumbling before our eyes. It's going down and it's really hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. This is why, as much as some people disagree with Dave Filoni, I will literally explain to you throughout this video what's the difference between Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni. And statements like this from Kathleen Kennedy, it just shows you that the direction she is heading is a disaster, and has been for a long time. So she gave an interview to The Independent. This is what she said. I really think that now we're in a position where it's broadened the possibility of stories and filmmakers we can bring in to tell stories that mean something to them. It doesn't necessarily have to connect to every little thing that's been done in Star Wars. It can actually be a standalone story that then builds into many, many other stories. Hey, Kathleen Kennedy, let me ask you something. Have you ever met a particular, filmmaker that started something, that started a franchise 40 years ago, 50 years ago almost, and you're bearing it to the ground to this day, the moment he handed the reins to you? This is what irks me the most about George Lucas. He created Star Wars and then handed it over to Kathleen Kennedy when he sold it to Disney. Do you realize what she just said? She said we're in a position to broaden the possibility of stories and filmmakers we can bring in. So she's literally saying that Star Wars is up for rent. Who wants to rent Star Wars? People come in and just, tell your own story within Star Wars. What? What did you just say?
How embarrassing. How embarrassing.
Are you out of your mind? She must be joking. Is she actually conflating issues? Is she trying to say that, hey, Tony Gilroy came in and look what he did with Andor? No. Andor was already established. The rebel spies that stole the Death Star plans and the start of the rebellion was already established by George Lucas in the original trilogy, Kathleen Kennedy. Not bringing in people that can, tell a standalone story, a side-off, and then we'll make many, many other stories out of that. This is the opposite of what George said. Kathleen Kennedy is saying that we're going to give Star Wars, we're going to rent Star Wars out to big stars, huge names that are going to come and do whatever they want with this IP, while George is saying it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Making art is something completely different, and you shouldn't rely on big, humongous budgets like the flopping acolyte, but have somebody with a vision. I'm gonna say this. Let's compare the other side of the coin. Let's go to Dave Filoni. So what has Dave Filoni done ever since Disney took over? He started with the Rebels series, the Rebels animated series. This took place during Imperial times. We saw Jedi survivors in Kanan Jarrus training a new quote-unquote Padawan, Ezra Bridger. Then we see Ahsoka come back, we see Maul, we see even Vader. So this is Imperial times. What then Dave Filoni does, he goes on to co-create with Jon Favreau, he goes on to co-create The Mandalorian. So this is years after the original trilogy. So he did something pre-original trilogy and then post-original trilogy. You see the timeline? Like, he is telling them in a timeline. He's telling these stories as they should be. Then comes the Ahsoka series by Dave Filoni. The Ahsoka series, again, is post-Mandalorian series. So we see Ahsoka come back in live action in the Mandalorian series, and then we see her own series, the continuation of the story, the continuation of the timeline. And even season 2 and now the Mandalorian Grogu movie that is coming May 2026 is still after Thrawn comes back from Peridia, after Ahsoka is trapped there, Mandalorian, Grogu, everybody is coming back for this movie. We're gonna have a New Republic versus Imperial Remnant battle, which is gonna resemble, I guess, the original trilogy, only now the Rebels are a bit more, now the Rebels are the Imperial Remnant and the New Republic is kind of the Empire. You see the logic that Dave Filoni follows? He hasn't gone back or done standalone stories because he understands what DC is doing, especially Marvel. Kevin Feige isn't going around renting Marvel to anybody to tell their own stupid-ass story. He is in charge of phases. Phase 1, 2, 3, now they're in phase 6, I think, with the new Fantastic Four, and it follows a formula. It goes forward. If it doesn't go forward, then it's stuck. And this is the main problem with Star Wars. Many other filmmakers and other people have been complaining, fans especially, that it's discombobulated. There's a movie there, there's a series there, but there's no, continuation. There's no gel. There's no micro-organic fiber connecting all of these together. It's just the emblem of Star Wars. But you'll go to Skeleton Crew, animated cartoons about Yoda teaching younglings, and then you'll release a High Republic comic, and then you'll release an Acolyte series that flops during the High Republic era, but then you'll go make a Mandalorian Grogu movie. This is the problem with Kathleen Kennedy and Disney. It is discombobulated. The moment they took over, we should have just had post-original trilogy content. There's so much to tell. You yourself, Disney and Kathleen Kennedy together, I don't think with the approval of George Lucas, but they didn't ask him. The moment they purchased this, they didn't ask him anymore. They went on to clean the slate. They went on to erase the canon that was previous, and they started anew. So after Return of the Jedi, nothing was canon anymore. So you started your own canon, but still giving you ample time to create new stories, new factions, new planets, new characters, whatever you want. And still they couldn't do that because it's discombobulated. Even in the comics, if you go to the comics, there's a comic released about this and that, and timeline wise, it's a mess. This is my biggest pet peeve. Look at what she says in 2025. In 2025, she still comes in, Kathleen Kennedy, and says stuff like this, which is baffling, just baffling. She says we're in a position where it's broadened the possibility of stories and filmmakers that could come in and do something that means something to them, and it doesn't necessarily have to connect with every little thing. What? You're the president of Lucasfilm and you're saying this? Oh, and by the way, here's an article, update, Kathleen Kennedy not stepping down in August. So yeah, all those rumors, all those, clamoring from the fans, we celebrated too early, baby. Don't ever do that with Kathleen Kennedy. She's like a bad coin. She comes back. She's like a boomerang, These rumors came from Jeff Snyder and other Hollywood insiders talking about she would step down August or the end of next year, as early as 2026. And yeah, when Star Wars Celebration came in, Screen Rant literally asked, and she said, I'm not retiring. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. This is literally, I think, just to spite the fans. There's no other possibility. There's no other reason why she wouldn't hand over the reins to Dave Filoni or heck, Jon Favreau at the very least. Just do something to get this person that is not interested in furthering the Star Wars story. It's as simple as that. I don't, there's no other reasoning for it. I can't find any. I've tried. She either hates George Lucas, she hates Star Wars, and by this point, I definitely think that she hates Star Wars fans. There's no question in my mind that this has just been terrible, terrible time for her. All right, I just had to make this video. I went off the cuff, I know, in this video, but reading that title, like reading what she said, it's insane. It really is.